Hello and welcome. In today's video, I want to take you on a little tour debugging the SimConnect code that I'm writing for FS Runway incursions. I'm currently working on version 0.9.2, and one of the things I'm working on is getting the taxi path information for an airport. And while doing that, I ran into a bug I created myself. And I wanted to show you how you can debug these things because, well, if you run into this for the first time, you're probably gonna be troubleshooting quite a while before figuring out what's going on. With that being said, let's get right into it. Right now, you see Flight Simulator 2024. I'm in debug mode, and I opened the SimConnect inspector. For those of you who don't know where to find the SimConnect inspector, if you have the dev mode enabled, you click the tools menu, and then there is the SimConnect inspector. You can turn it on, and it will show up. Right now, FS Runway Incursions is not running, or it is running, but it is not connected to the sim. So therefore, you will not see this process in here. And as soon as I will connect the code, it will jump into a breakpoint, which is fine. So let's do that and then see what happens. So here's the add-on. We can click connect. There we go. We jump into Visual Studio and we have our breakpoint. Good. And this demonstrates the issue I was having. So I'm in read airport details. We'll just go up the stack real quick to show you what I'm doing. This is actually called from SimConnect on receive facility data. This is an event handler that receives the facility data. And I think we can go up more. Yes, so this is coming from message received. So we're basically coming from the sim. It sends us data for an airport in this case. And if we then go back here, we have this airport details definition, and we class the data. This is the normal pattern you'll see for getting data out of the sim. And then if I open airport data, all of a sudden, something is wrong. Not sure if you can see that very well, but if you look at the IK over here, that doesn't seem like a good value to me. So that's weird, and it breaks my code because now it's trying to find an airport in the list of airports that I got earlier from the sim, getting all the airports within the vicinity, and it obviously cannot find an airport with the ident that I got from the sim. So how do we figure out what's going on? Most of the time, what you'll see, there's going to be a mismatch between what you registered as a data definition and what you actually defined as your structure in the .NET code. So I want to show you how to verify that that's your issue and how to actually fix that issue. As you remember, we had the SimConnect inspector started up, and as we are now connected, we can actually see our application popping up in this dropdown. And if you select it, you get more information. We get some stats with a number of calls and frames. And okay, so this is the calls that we did and the frames that the sim actually constructed based on those calls. If you have exceptions, they will pop up over here. But in this case, it's not an exception because, well, what the sim does, it basically writes whatever you defined as the data that you wanted directly into a memory space and then hands it over. So that works, and I got the memory, and I read the memory, but I read the wrong memory. So that's the problem, and it doesn't give an exception for that. We have the frames tab, which is very useful. We can actually see the frames that we got. In this case, you can see we registered the data definition, we added the facility definition, and then, well, we also did request some object data, so you can see some calls that we did within a single frame. And we can also see the content of those if available, not on all frames in this case, or not on all calls. So that's really cool. And we can also see that in this case, we requested the facility data for EHLE. This is what we're debugging right now. So that's cool. The code that we sent there came back just fine. So it got into the sim just fine, but somehow we got the wrong data. So let's move to what else we have. So we have our data definitions. These are, in this case, a list of waypoints. This is what we use to move AI objects in the sim. And this structure is what we use to get the player location with the aircraft altitude, both AGL and above sea level. Flag for sim on the ground, and so this is if the aircraft is on the ground or not, and the heading of the aircraft. So that's what you see here. I don't use any events. Facility data definition is what we're interested in right now. So we requested some facility data, so our data definition should be in here, which it is. We request this airport, and I found this very useful. So you can actually see, in this case, because this is facility data about an airport, there's, as you can see, two categories. You either have members or you have children. Let's look at the children first. The children are things that are other objects, so runways, taxi points, etc. For this particular instance, we're talking about the airport itself, so we're not interested in the children. Close those. We are interested in the members. Good, so this is what we registered with the sim that we wanted in terms of data. So we want the number of runways, taxi points, parking spots, and the ICAO. And this one went wrong. The best starting point is if you check this is what we registered with the sim. And if we go back to the code, that is what should be in here in the data, right? But because this is casted to an airport details definition, we only get two properties and not the whole list that we got in the inspector. So I see two properties, and in here I see 5 properties. So there's an issue there, and we can verify by going to the definition of this struct. And I prepped the solution before recording the video. This is a struct. There's 2 things that are important, obviously, or 3 things actually. Obviously, you need the properties to be available that you registered in the data definition or in the facility definition in this case, which I don't have. So if I go and just comment that back in, I'll have to restart the app because it won't be able to do it like this, obviously. Then it should actually work. Another thing is important to look for is data types. So as you saw in the debug value for the airport data, in fact, I think, yeah, you can still see it right here in the bottom. This doesn't look like a string, really. It looks like something else. That is because it actually got into the space of this. So it got an integer in there instead of a string. That's useful to know. And I got a little bit lucky that it ended in the right point, and I didn't run out of memory because, these are ended by a specific character. So the data type is important and the order is also important. So it has to be in this particular order that I registered it in. So you have to go and check each of these properties and make sure they are in the same order as they're shown here. And that is the order in which you registered them as well. So I have that. And then if I go and show you where it's actually registered, then you'll see that this is where I register the data definition. Open airport is obviously not part of the definition. It's just a keyword. And then there's a number of runways, taxi points, etc., and the ICAO. So this is the order I registered them in. That's the order you see in this SimConnect inspector. That's also the order that you have to use for defining your struct. Now, just to show you that that was actually the issue. Stop. Start it again. Here we go. I'll click connect. So we hit the breakpoint, and here's our struct. And again, EHLE is in there. And we know there's one runway, there's 55 parkings, 916 taxi paths, and 775 taxi points. In the next video, I will hope to show you a little bit more about how taxiways work. But for now, this was it. I hope you found it useful, and I'd appreciate it if you leave a like, a comment, and if you subscribe to the channel, that would be great. And with that, see you next time.